Hi guys, just to build on the last lesson, we're going to look at average rates of change for a function. Okay, so any function y equals f of x has an average rate of change from x1 to x2 that is given by the change in y over the change in x. Okay, so when we're given two x variables, we can work out the average rate of change by plugging them into the function and working out our y changes. Okay, so it's the change in y over the change in x. So for this one here, find the average rate of change for this function here, okay, and I know that my two x values are 2 and 4, okay, so I'm trying to plug them into this formula here, so I'm missing my y's, so in order to work out my y's, I plug in my x values into the function and that'll give me my y's. So it's going to be f of x2 take away f of x1 on top, all over x2 take away x1. Okay, so when I plug in f of x2, I'm talking about my x2 is 4, so it's going to be f of 4 minus f of 2 all over 4 take away 2. So again, when I plug in my f of 4, I'm going to have, sorry, it's a bit thick, f of 4 is equal to 2 times 4 squared minus 3, which is equal to 5. Sorry, not 5. 4 squared is 16 times 2 is 32 minus 3 is 29, not 5. I'm thinking of the other one, sorry. So this is 29. And then when I do f of 2, I get 2 times 2 squared, which is 4. So 4 times 2 is 8 minus 3 is equal to 5. Okay, so now I know my values. So I've got 29 take away 5 on top, and it's 4 take away 2. So it's 24 divided by 2 is equal to 12. Okay, so your average rate of change for that function from x1 equals 2 to x2 equals 4 is 12. Okay, the other thing that we're going to look at is how to apply this to a CAS calculator. So if you're doing this on a calculator assumed paper, a calculator allowed paper, you can do a couple of shortcuts. Okay, so the first thing that you need to look at is what actions you're going to carry out. So if you go into your calculate page, you can choose actions and then choose define. So it's 1 and 1. And once you've clicked that, this define word comes up and you have to define the function. So your function will be given to you in your question. So it's f of x is equal to 3x cubed minus 3x, and you hit enter. So now your calculator is understands the command that the function is equal to that. Okay, so anytime that you ask your calculator to do f of something, it would put it into that function and work it out for you. So when your first x value is -2, you can do f of -2 is equal to, and it'll work it out for you by plugging in -2 for your x value. So -2 cubed is -8, -3 times -2 is +6, so you end up with -2, and your calculator would do that for you just by plugging in f bracket -2 bracket. Okay, so I could do that again for the other x value, which is 0, so f0, and it would end up being 0 because 0 cubed is 0 and 3 times 0 is 0. 0 takes 0 is still 0. Okay, so your CAS calculator will do that for you. You can even do another shortcut. Okay, instead of having to actually write out the formula change in y over change in x, you can just plug in the formula from your page. So if you had to do a few different average rates of change between different x values, so this one here is -2 and 0, but you might be asked after that to do between 3 and 4 and then between 5 and 6 or whatever. So instead of having to redo all this, you just plug in this formula here. Okay, and this formula here is telling you that if a and b are your different x values, your function is now going to find the f of the second x value and the f of the first x value and take them away from each other all over their change in the x's. So your second x value take away your first x value. Okay, again you have to tell the calculator that, so you press enter and it'll give you a done, so it'll know that that command now works. And then your next part is it's g of the two x values. So again, if I look back up to my question, my x values are -2 and 0, so my a is going to be -2 and my x is 0. So I do g -2 0 and I end up with 1. So my calculator is going to do all that for me, as opposed to me having to do this part up here by doing my change in y's. So my change in y's is going to be 0 is the y2, take away -2, all over, and my x2 is 0 and my x1 is 2, so it's take away -2 again. So both times that's going to give me positive 2 over positive 2, which is equal to 1. So instead of having to do all that manually, our calculator will do it all for us once we define our g of a. Okay, and that's pretty much it. You should be set to do the next lot of questions. Okay.